Hello everyone, my name is Jason Kibilan, and this presentation is on CSS Transitions. What is a transition? A CSS transition allows you to change property values smoothly from one value to another over a given duration. Now there are two properties that are required in order for the transition to take effect. The first requirement is the transition property. This is where you state what it is you want to change. Do you want to change the height of an object, the width of an object, or maybe the color of an object? The second requirement needed is the transition duration. How long will this transition take? You can either write it in milliseconds or in seconds. Down here I have an example of the transition syntax. As you can see, we have the property and duration, which is required. There are also two other functions that you can use, the timing and the delay. I will be showing you examples of each of these functions as we go through this presentation. So let's start off by making a simple box. Have the width at 100 pixels, as well as the height. And let's give it a color of red. Now in these examples, I'll be using the hover selector to show the transition effect. So on the hover, I want to change it by 25 pixels. So let's go to 125, as well as the height. And the background color to green. So as you can see, when you hover over the object, it abruptly changes to the values you have on the hover selector. Now this next example with the transition, it'll show how smoother it is going from red box to green box. So let's copy and paste another box here. And let's say I want to change the color first. To green. Now we can use the transition effect. And remember, we have to put what it is we want to change, which is the background. And how long it will take. Say 2 seconds. Now as you can see, when I mouse over, it doesn't automatically change to red. It slowly changes to green. Let's add all the other changes that we did previously. So we had the width at 125 pixels and the height. Now when you add multiple things you want to change, you separate it by a comma and add the property and duration of the next one you want to change. So let's say we have the width there at 2 seconds and the height there at 2 seconds. So now when we mouse over, see the difference? Without the transition, it abruptly changes. With the transition, there's a nice smooth change to the effect. Now, a better way to write this code instead of writing all of these down is to use the keyword all. So all you would have to do is, instead of writing each property you want to change, since more than likely you're going to change all of them in the hover effect, want to just put the keyword all, which will be your property, and then the duration. And it works in the same way. Another option you can use in a transition is the timing function. The transition timing function property specifies the speed curve of the transition effect. The transition timing function property can have the following values: ease, which specifies a transition effect with a slow start, then it goes fast, and then it ends slowly. This is a default. There's also the linear, which has the same speed from start to end, and ease in, which has a slow start, and ease out with a slow end, and ease in and out, which has a slow start, goes normal speed, and then slows at the end. And then you also have the cubic Bezier function. This allows you to define your own values, which means you can have an object move and then stop for a period of time and then move again. That's your choice. In this example, I will be using the transform translate function to demonstrate how the transition timing function works. Basically, what translate X means is that it'll move the object, which is the circles, 200 pixels to the right. Okay, let's concentrate on the transitions here. So each circle, I have the duration of the transition at 2 seconds. They're all the same, but I have a different value for each timing function, as you can see here. So what we want to show in this demonstration is how the speed curve of each of these values affects these circles. As you can see, the circles all take 2 seconds to reach the endpoint, but you can see with each value it shows the speed in between the start and the finish are different. The final example I have is the transition delay. Again, in this example I am using a transform, this time with the scale selector. I have it at 1.4 times, which means the box will grow 1.4 times. I also, for fun, have the border radius at 50%. It'll transform the square into a circle, and again it will have a change in color. It'll change the yellow from blue. So let's look at the transitions here. I have them all set at the same duration, which is 1 second. But for the first one, there is no transition delay. So as soon as I hover over the objects, it'll take 1 second for it to turn from a square blue box to a circle yellow. And then here on this middle box, I have the delay at 1 second. So all of these will do the same thing, but the delay here is 1 second and the delay here is 2 seconds. So when I scroll over the mouse, you will see the difference in the delay. As you can see, the first box took a second to change, the second waited a second before it changed, and then the third waited 2 seconds before it changed. Before I end my presentation, I would like to briefly talk about CSS transforms. A transform makes an element change from one state to another. It allows you to rotate, move, skew, and scale elements. I previously used the scale element back in my last example with the blue boxes turning into yellow circles. The reason I bring up transforms is because really transforms and transitions go hand in hand. The references I used to make this presentation are listed here. I went to the W3 Schools website to learn about transition, and I also found a great article here from Rachel Cope about CSS transitions and transforms for beginners. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I thank you for spending the time to watch it. Thanks.